Okay, let's start.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna start. Welcome, everyone. Today, my name is Yoko Oda. I'm honored to interview Shoji Kameda from kaDON. Well, before I start the interview, I just want to acknowledge JCAY, Japanese Canadian Association Yukon Taiko group respectfully acknowledge that we practice and perform on the traditional territory of Kwan Lindan First Nation and the Ta'ankwachan Council. It's beautiful white horse in the Yukon territory.
Awesome.
Yes. um, just quick introduce this Japanese Canadian JCAY Taiko group. Why we met Shoji-san? Because we got the Yukon government new Canadian event fund. We usually do public event, and of course it's pandemic. We couldn't do a public event, so I think same as many organizations that's being creative, and we tried to some online event.
Yeah.
And JCAY Taiko started in 2015, and I've been Googling a lot, and I knew Shoji-san and kaDON. Then okay, so online teaching. Let's reach out kaDON, and then Shoji-san, Aya-san was okay to teach us in Yukon Taiko group. So I reached out, and then we got the 3 sessions to learn Ready, Set, kaDON. Very fun music, fun songs. Was it in January? It was January and February. Yes. 3 sessions. We practiced hard after 3 workshops and then filmed by Yukon's local film production company, Midnight Light Media. This interview video and our performance video will be on YouTube at the same time. So, okay, so I would like to introduce Shoji-san. Would you mind introduce yourself?
Yeah. Absolutely. Hello, everybody. My name is Shoji Kameda. I'm a 4th generation Japanese American and a professional taiko player. I started playing taiko when I was 8 years old. I was first taught by my childhood best friend, Masato Baba. His parents played taiko with the San Francisco Taiko Dojo. And they started the very first children's taiko group in the United States. And they taught him, as well as myself and my sisters. And we all grew up playing taiko. And so we kind of represent like the first generation in America that got to grow up playing taiko. And I very active in the North American taiko community. The taiko community means a lot to me. I think taiko gave me everything I could have possibly wanted in life. Like I met my wife through taiko, so my family is because of taiko. I think being involved in taiko, I learned from so many great teachers and so many great not just artists and musicians, but like great like community leaders and a lot of activists and a lot of people just wanting to make the world a better place. And so I feel like a lot of those values are in the taiko community. And so I feel like my whole value system as a human kind of came from being involved in this art form. So I love the taiko community. I love trying to spread taiko throughout the world, and now I help run a website called kaDON, and we're actually much more than a website, where we try to be a resource for anybody who is interested in this art form. And so we film like online courses, we teach online, And we also organize different kinds of events. And our goal is to really kind of is to make high quality like information and repertoire and instruments as accessible as possible to anybody who has a love for the art form. And we also really try to be an organization that can connect people and kind of grow the community aspect of the art form as well. So yeah, that's what I do.
Oh, great. When did you start the kaDON, the online group?
Let's see, 2015. Yeah, was when we first started. I think. Yes, that's right. 2015, summer of 2015.
Okay, that's interesting. 2015, Japanese Canadian JCAY Taiko
Yeah,
has started with garbage bin in Taiko.
yeah, yeah.
I'm just curious that after the pandemic started,
Mm-hmm.
it's did people connect the kaDON
Yes, yeah.
to learn?
The pandemic was like it's like we had started this online um like Taiko resource, before the pandemic, and
Yeah.
um and a lot of because like Taiko is such a like a you learn from person to person, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
very like we gather together and like
Mm-hmm.
and play together.
Yeah.
When we first started teaching online, there was a lot of people that were like, "Wait, why do we? This doesn't make any sense. This is not, this is not what it should be." But then when the pandemic hit, I think it made it very clear that like,
Yeah.
you know, be like we can use the online resources to stay connected as a community, and you can really learn
Mm-hmm.
a lot online. Like
Mm-hmm.
nothing replaces like being in the same room with somebody and learning,
Yeah. Yeah.
and learning with your group. But we're not trying to replace that. We're trying to like help supplement that,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
just like how your group was able to learn a piece, and you figured out, and then you were all inspired to practice it and like play it together. And yeah, so the pandemic was like in one way it was like really great because a lot of people like saw the need for something like kaDON.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think it was also a really, really, it was a really hard time for the Taiko community in general because lots of the, lots of the groups,
Yeah.
everybody had a really hard time staying together. And I think up to this point, I think every year Taiko has gotten bigger and bigger. The community has gotten bigger and bigger. Just the number of people involved in the art form
Mm-hmm.
um, has kept growing year after year. But I think the pandemic era is like the first time where it maybe has shrunk.
Mm.
Just the number of people like active in the art form. And so, while it was a very good time for us as an organization because a lot of people like
It's,
realize, oh, we can do things online. It was also like it's also like I know it's like a hard time for the overall art form. So we really try to, we're always like trying to do things in a way where we are like supporting
mm-hmm.
the local taiko groups because that's really like the heart and soul of taiko in North America. Like this art form is like it's built on a bunch of crazy people. Like
Yeah.
it's built on a bunch of crazy people that just love it and like
Yes.
and like just put together trash cans. Oh, sorry, and put together like drums on trash cans and like gather in like you know uh, people practice in like car parking lots and
Yeah.
carting their drums in their vans and stuff, and that's really like the backbone of this of the art form. Um so yeah, the pandemic, it was yeah, I hope that the whole community can emerge stronger from this, you know
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
and I think hopefully moving forward we can keep the good things about like connecting
Yeah.
online, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also like go back to like um all these groups being very healthy and like growing, and all these local
Mhm.
groups growing, because I think that that's really really important.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking about Taiko community,
Hmm.
would, can you talk about North America, the Taiko community? How it, did it start? What's going on right now in North America or all
Yeah,
over the world? Yeah.
yeah. So the North American taiko community, like, um it was, I think the if you go back to like the first three groups that started in North America, it kind of gives you like an idea of the kind of foundations of taiko in North America. So um, the first two groups, one was the San Francisco Taiko Dojo,
Mm-hmm.
started by Grandmaster Seiichi Tanaka, and he studied with the Tsukeroku Taiko group and with Osuwa Daiko. So and he was immigrant from Japan himself,
Mm-hmm.
and so and he San Francisco Taiko Dojo was like is still a very active group and a very important group, because a lot of the people that he trained up then went on to be the taiko leaders in their own groups and
Group.
communities all throughout North America. So that's one group, and the other one is the Senshin Buddhist temple.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so they started. I'm sorry. Oh, so sorry. Okay, so the second one is Kinada Taiko
Mm-hmm.
from the Senshin Buddhist temple, and that I think represents another way that taiko spread in the North American taiko community. So through the collection of like Buddhist churches and Buddhist temples,
Mm-hmm.
and that group was really started in a way. It was started by Reverend Mas Kodani, and his idea was to really use taiko to like practice like Buddhism, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in a daily way, and that was, I think, the a lot of the original kind of value system of the taiko community came from them as well, because they were very open. They're very
Mm-hmm.
like, they shared their knowledge like very generously. They went out of their way to help start other taiko groups, especially in amongst the sort of Buddhist temples, and so I think a lot of their that kind of like, and then lots of the taiko players from that original group, Kinada, they're still active in the taiko community, and
Amazing.
they still play together, which is like amazing. Like they've
Amazing. Yeah.
yeah, they've been playing together for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
um but yeah, like George and Johnny and Chris, and a lot of them are kind of icons in the North American taiko community. So that's like another sort of foundation. And then the third one is a group called San Jose Taiko, and they started a little bit later. They started in the early 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and that group really came out of a more kind of political expression.
Mm-hmm.
So that they came up during the time of like Black Power movements and Asian American movements,
Mm-hmm.
and so um, PJ Hirabayashi and Roy Hirabayashi, like, and two of the kind of founders of that group, they are still very active in the North American taiko community, and I think San Jose Taiko kind of represents like that kind of um, like activist,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
people wanting like to use taiko for social change and like
Mm-hmm.
and empowerment, and like, and also kind of the creation of a Asian American identity, the creation of a Japanese American identity. I think
Mm-hmm.
that those kind of values and ideas kind of came from that group. So I think those three groups like represent the foundation of North American taiko. And then yeah, from those three groups, it's it starts in the like 60s and 70s, and
Yeah.
then in the beginning it's very small, and then it really starts to expand and starts to grow. And then I should know what the first taiko group in Canada is, but I want to say it's Kitara.
It's
I'm
a
not.
In
I'm not
Vancouver
sure.
or
Yeah,
east or west, I
I think
guess.
the Vancouver group was the first, but
Mm,
hmm. Okay,
it's okay.
you might have to edit that part out
Yeah.
because I don't want to be wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So and then I think start to grow and grow and grow.
Mm,
And then in 1997, we held the very first North American Taiko conference. And that
yeah.
was the first time that all the Taiko groups in North America came and gathered and met each other. Um, and I think that was a really, really important event for the Taiko community. And that
Mm.
really, it made us realize that we were much bigger than we felt, because
Yeah.
everybody was just like, doing Taiko in their little, in their group, and maybe they might have like one connection to this teacher or
Yeah.
this other group, but it was like all kind of like contained in their little area. And so um, I think the North American Taiko Conference was really the first time when we were able to like come together as a community and realize like,
Yeah.
wow, we there's a lot of us, and it really kind of like supercharged the Taiko community. And
Mm,
um, yeah, and then so that was like in the mid 90s,
yeah.
late 90s. But and yeah, I feel like Taiko has just continued to grow throughout North America from that point. Yeah.
And you teach your student. I guess you have a student in Europe or all of the world.
Yeah, I teach all around the world. And
Ah,
I think as Taiko has grown, there's because once you take that first step of meeting in your own kind of like Taiko community, then you start thinking like, oh, I wonder who else is out there in the world, right?
yeah.
And so in 2015, actually, we hosted the first um, World Taiko Conference in Los Angeles. And
Okay.
at that conference, it was like based on that kind of like North American Taiko Conference
Yeah.
model. But at that conference, there was a concerted effort to reach out to the Taiko groups outside of North America. And
Mm,
so, there was a few of the Taiko leaders from Europe came and also from South America. Um, and yeah, it was, and then from that point, then the first European Taiko conference happens.
mm,
And kaDON, we were like very involved in that one, and really tried to help support the growth of the European
mm.
Taiko community. And then since that point, there's been several European Taiko conferences, and that's it's been really rewarding and fun to see that same like kind of energy that happened when the first North American groups got together and we're like, oh, we're not
Ah,
alone, and oh, and
yeah.
like having that feeling, and like a lot of like things would spontaneously happen, like
Yeah.
different gatherings and that kind of thing. And then um it's been really, really fun to see that happen in Europe as well, like
Mm,
there's been a lot of different Taiko groups starting and being quite successful in Europe, and but maybe like kind of contained within their
yeah.
own like local areas. So yeah, again, that sort of the power of like coming together as a community and realizing you're not alone, and sharing resources, sharing knowledge, and just like being
Mm.
more connected has been really, really powerful. So yeah, I haven't been to actually I was in Germany like the right when the pandemic broke out, and I had to leave like on a last second flight.
Oh,
Yeah. Um
wow.
and I haven't been back since, but I plan to go back this summer.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
but yeah, I have been very active in like teaching a lot of the yeah, and just teaching and collaborating and just help doing what I can to help that community grow as well.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. That's, I think, practicing taiko has been helping myself that at the pandemic because uh, especially performance is coming. Okay, we
Yeah.
have to memorize you, and during the performance, you have to concentrate and have to support each other, right? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think a tai, taiko is very good.
Yeah. Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
it's So we learned Ready Set kaDON, which
Mm-hmm.
you composed.
Mm-hmm.
And then many taiko groups in all around the world play this song. So
Mm-hmm.
can you talk about Ready Set kaDON?
Yeah. So Ready Set kaDON is it's a piece that I composed. I really composed it with the idea of so a lot of the pieces that I compose for kaDON, I try to like do it in a way that there's some like real like key thing that the piece is trying to teach the people who
Ah,
learn it. Yeah, and
mhm,
so for Ready Set kaDON, for a lot of taiko songs, like the phrases don't repeat, and they just
mhm,
go,
mhm,
and it's like through compose. So you memorize a whole like phrase and it just goes till it ends,
mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
And usually at some point it like speeds up, right?
Yes.
That's like a very typical like taiko composition.
Mhm.
So for Ready Set kaDON, I wanted to the key skill that I'm trying to teach people through the piece is to play more as an ensemble.
Mhm.
So the phrases are very like easy to learn, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
everybody, like even a very beginning level taiko player can learn the dodo tsuku tsuku don
Mhm.
tsuku don dodo. It's only like one or two little
Yeah,
phrases
yeah,
in
yeah.
different ways. But the tricky thing is understanding how your part fits in with everybody else's part, and it's a very
Mhm.
like layered piece.
Mhm.
And so you have to put more effort into like listening to other people
Yes.
and understanding your part in it.
Yes.
Yeah, otherwise the whole thing it doesn't work well. Yeah,
Yes.
you really have to do that. And so that's really like the kind of like key like lesson that I try to embed
Ah.
in the piece. And then I think that lesson is a good one for building community as well, because
Mhm.
it's not just like you can't only focus on what you're playing in that piece.
Yes.
You have to understand what other people are doing. You have to know other people's parts in order to play your own, and you have to like listen and play along with people,
Yes.
not just like okay, what do I do next? You can't
Yes.
play it like that. So yeah, so I think it's a very good piece to like kind of bring people together and also like bring people who had never played together
Mhm.
in together to perform. So the very first time we performed that piece actually was at the North American Taiko Conference,
Oh,
and
cool.
I had composed the piece, I had put it on kaDON, and then I had put some other like little videos together, to teach
Yeah.
people. And this was the first time we had anybody had tried anything like this because, um, like a bunch of people that don't know each other are gonna come
Yeah.
together and try to perform a piece that had never been done before
Yeah.
in front of like the entire taiko community.
Yes.
It was a very even I thought this could happen, but I was a little bit like, I hope this works.
Works.
I hope this works because there was no practice time or anything,
Yeah.
because we're not all in the same group. Everybody was just meeting up at the actual conference.
Yeah.
And so we got everybody together and we did a kuchishoka run through. Everybody
Yeah.
was just singing their parts, and it totally worked. And at that point, I knew it was
It's
gonna
gonna be
go
okay.
well. Yeah, and then we performed it in front of the whole like taiko
It's amazing.
community. Yeah, and that
I,
was yeah, yeah,
I have watched the YouTube Kuchishoga, the Ready Set kaDON.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
very, very cool,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. That was the very first. That was that moment I'm talking about. That was the first time
Yeah.
people had gotten together to try that, and it was really
Wow.
yeah, it was a real like test of this idea of like, can we do something like this? Can we bring in people that don't play in the same group together
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to perform together? Like, is that even possible? Like, will people
Yeah.
learn this online? And
Yeah.
and so it was like a proof of concept as a yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so that piece was really kind of it was started in that way, and so I feel like that piece is meant to like bring different people together. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and it's also a good level, it's not like too hard, it's not too easy, it's like a nice like kind of
Mm-hmm.
challenge for a intermediate or beginning level taiko player, but not so far where they can't do it, you know.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
um, I think for those reasons, it's spread and has done very well, and yeah, and yeah, that's my favorite things is like when I see like that piece being used to like gather people together to play together,
Mhm.
you know, that have never been able to play together. I think that
Together.
that's really something special. Yeah, because
Wow.
one of the things that I wanted to another reason why I started and wrote this piece and put it together in that way was like we always have this idea of like, oh, we're a taiko community, you know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but the but what I realized is like we would all get together and we would like you know, we put on a concert and take workshops from people from each other, or I would teach workshops, uh, but like it was funny to me that like the actual act of playing taiko
Mhm.
wasn't what brought us together as a community,
Mm.
right? Yeah,
More
we
connect, you mean?
yeah. So we would always come together in the North American Taiko Conference, and we would like everybody be super happy to see each other, and like you know we take workshops and stuff, but we'd not actually like play taiko together, you
Uh,
know, and like that's the thing that we all love. We all love
yeah.
like playing taiko, right? And
Together, yeah.
so I wanted to make it. I wanted to like center the act of playing taiko as the thing that brings us together, you know,
Mm.
as the thing that brings us together as a community.
So they know everybody know the song, and when
Yeah,
they get
it's
together, they can
yes.
play together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
Nice.
again, trying to embed those like values into the
Mm-hmm.
song. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, cuz it would be a very different song if it were a very, you know, we would be saying a very different thing if the song was like, okay, pick your best player and
Yeah.
everybody is plays quiet and your best player plays super loud and is right in the middle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you can write a piece like that, but that there's like values embedded
Mm.
in that piece, right? And so
Very cool.
it's about like it's about doing it in a very intentional way too, you know?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You have to listen because,
Yeah.
like personally, especially at the performance, I'm just it's getting fast and fast. And if it's too fast, the ready set kind of doesn't work because
Yeah, yeah.
this part has to be a good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's I like the value.
Yeah.
I, yeah, when is it? Do you guys have any conference plan?
Um we don't know when the next one is going to be the North American Taiko Conference.
Mm.
But there will at the so when I'm going to Europe in the summer for this event called Taiko Palooza, and
Mm-hmm.
this was something that started after the first European Taiko Conference, and
Mm-hmm.
at that one's a really fun and amazing event. It's put together by a good friend of mine, Raz, who runs a taiko group in Ulm,
Mm-hmm.
and he really puts together this like fantastic festival where he just gathers taiko players from all around Europe, and Ulm is this like beautiful German city, and in the middle of the city there's like this park, and it has this like river that's going through it, and there's like a floating stage that
Oh,
we rent out,
amazing.
and then and it's the same thing, like it's a whole concert of all pieces that people learn from the internet, and like you know, so
Yeah.
Ready Set kaDON is part of it. A lot of some of the kaDON repertoire gets played, like omiyage and
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, nice.
and then pieces that the other taiko groups have like learned or want to share with each other. You know, everybody makes little videos and learns the part pieces, and then come together and we do this like really fun like performance. Um, yeah, it's a really great event. So that would be like you know the next opportunity to play
To
Ready Set
play with the
kaDON.
set of
Yeah, and
kaDON.
then hopefully with kaDON, we are also hoping to put together some different events um,
Nice.
this year, because I think you know it'll be possible to gather people together again. So yeah, it's definitely something we don't have. I can't announce anything for sure
Yeah.
right now because a lot of things are still in the planning stage.
Mm-hmm.
But we're definitely planning to create some kind of opportunities for people to come
Nice. To
together.
get together.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. It's been
Too
wow.
long. Yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
know.
yes. Yeah.
Hmm. So um we just one of my members, our
Hmm.
members, we all knew, we all baby, we are baby group, and
Yeah.
then when you teach new beginners, what tips would you offer to beginners to learn taiko
Oh, okay.
when
This
you
is a very
teach?
good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Um. So I've changed the way I teach, especially beginners, over time.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think like before I used to like try to explain things too much, you know? Like, okay, do it and then you bring your arm and then this is like this and then
uh,
this is like um but I'm trying to do things now in a way where people like put them through different kinds of like drills and things so that they can make discoveries for themselves,
okay.
you know. So for example, I'm not sure, do we do this, do we do the step and touch
Yeah, we
thing?
did.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So example for like that is trying to get people to understand like how
Rhythm.
the parts, yeah, fit into the basic structure of the bar, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you step, like, so that step touch pattern is like step with your right hand, touch with your left, touch with your left foot, and then step with your left and then touch with your right. So it cycles one bar,
Mm-hmm.
right? The cycle is one bar. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I didn't do just step, 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 because then the cycle is only like 2 beats.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if, this creates a cycle of one bar. So it makes people think about like the one
Ah,
bar, the bar structure,
okay.
and but that way I don't have to explain it, right? I don't
Yeah.
say like, okay, in this first bar, like the first beat of the first bar, you can just say like, okay, when you're step with the right foot, you do this, and when you touch with your left foot, you do this. Yeah, and so it's a way of kind of like not like tricking people, but like getting people to
By
like,
themselves,
yeah, by
discover
themselves,
themselves. Yeah.
discover themselves, because
Mm.
they're having to like step and like
Yeah.
hit and touch, and they're just making those discoveries for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they're doing it in their own bodies.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
That's
so I
very
think
empowering.
that's the most important thing. It's the hardest way to teach, because you don't have as much control. You just have to
Yes.
like set up the situation and like hope people kind of like come to the right conclusions, or
Yeah.
like but I think that way it does it it's much more powerful
Mm-hmm.
overall.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically like teaching people how to learn,
Yes,
teaching
yes.
people instead of just teaching like
Yeah,
this, yeah, this way, this way, this way.
Mhm.
Teaching people how to make those discoveries for themselves,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
more powerful. Yeah.
That's more powerful, yeah. Yeah.
Just one minute.
Yeah, yeah, no worries.
OK。ありがとう。
これいいの？
いいよ。ドア閉めてて。ありがとう。ドア閉めてて。はい。閉めてて、りんちゃん。はい、ありがとう。うん。閉めて。いいよ。いいよ。閉めてドア。ありがとう。もういいから早く閉めて。Sorry.
No worries, no worries.
My daughter is so excited about the Japanese snacks.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Do you go to Japan very often?
Not that often, no. But we do. Yeah, not that often. My we don't have any family in Japan.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, not like on my father's side, not on my mother's side, not on my wife's side. Yeah. So we don't have strong connections. I mean, we're all from Japan, but we don't have like strong family connections to Japan anymore. I only have like very, very distant relatives that it would be, I don't have like a parent or uncle or close relatives to visit. Lots of friends in the Taiko world, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I did live in Tokyo for a couple years
Okay.
studying Taiko. For me, it was like, like moving to a foreign country and being like, oh, what am I? What is this? Oh my gosh, yeah. So that was a very unique experience. We don't, we don't get to, I don't travel to Japan as much as I would like to. But I've been
Mm.
back. I've been back a couple times since I lived there.
Mm. Did you said that you learned the taiko in Japan? Was it different? The learning the taiko in North America and in Japan?
Yeah. Well, when I went to Japan, so I so I grew up studying, playing taiko, just like, like as a kid though. You're not
Yeah.
taking things that seriously. It wasn't until I got to college where I was like starting to be more serious about the art form.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then after my second year of college, I stopped out and I went to study with Kenny Endo, who
Mm-hmm.
is he's one of the real pioneers of North American taiko,
Mm-hmm.
and in that, especially that kind of first generation, he was really like the most outstanding like artist. Like
Mm-hmm.
he really took things in a very artistic and musical direction, and so I went to Hawaii to study with him, and during my time with him, he had a concert series in Japan, and that was like
Mm-hmm.
the first time I got to travel to Japan and play in his concert and meet some of the the taiko people in Tokyo. Um, and then so after I had studied with him for a year, I had promised my mother that I would go back to college and finish my degree. So I went back and I finished, and right afterwards, I played with San Jose Taiko for a short amount of time, did a
Okay.
tour with them, and then I moved back to Hawaii for a short amount of time. But this whole time,
Wow.
I was saving money and trying to get back to Japan,
Yeah.
and then I moved to Tokyo. And while I was there, I was trying to at that point I felt like taiko. I was trying to like study some of the art forms that are like older than
Mm.
kumidaiko, older than wadaiko, like um, uh, I studied Hogaku Hayashi with Saburo Mochizuki,
Mm.
he's one of the original four Tsukeroku Daiko members.
Okay.
Actually a lot of the two of the original Tsukeroku Daiko members like now are very active in the Hogaku um,
Oh.
world. And so yeah, so I studied because when I saw like the way like you play the Shime Daiko in you know in the in Hogaku, you're like this, and you play
Yeah.
and like that was like, oh, that totally makes sense. Like that's like naname,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
like you
mm-hmm.
put the drum on the side and then you play like this, like like I was making all those connections, like, oh, is that where that comes from, or
Comes from
um,
original. Yeah.
yeah, and so I studied that, and then I studied Edo Bayashi with
Mm-hmm.
Kyotsuke Suzuki, and these are all people that I had met through Kenny Endo. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and that was like, just like studying the kind of like folk music. Um, again, like something that like came before the modern taiko that we know
Mm.
now. I was like really interested in those kinds of things because I
Mm-hmm.
felt like if I could do that and like understand that more deeply, yeah, then I could do more
You
with
can
taiko. Yeah,
rearrange.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
My friend's going to. So you played at the San Jose Taiko.
Mm-hmm. Very briefly, yeah.
Yeah.
But
How was that?
that was my first job out of college.
Oh,
I
cool.
I yeah, I went and I went on. They needed some people to um, uh, like fill out their touring roster,
Wow.
and so that was a really fantastic opportunity. So they were like very very generous in allowing me to 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 join their ensemble and tour with them. And that was a really eye-opening experience as well, because that was like the
Mm.
first like my first experience of like really like being on the road, and like
Mhm.
touring, and like the
Oh.
life of, because like, we before you want to do taiko professionally, you think like, oh yeah, it'd be so fun, you could travel around and like,
Yeah.
but like the reality of it, it's like, it's not so easy. It's a lot of driving from point A to point B, and like staying in
Yeah.
hotels, and like, doing all the work that goes into like putting on a concert.
Behind the
And then,
scene, yeah.
yeah, exactly, and then the performing at the concert is like one small little bit of
Yes.
like
Yeah.
your whole, the whole like experience of it. So yes, but that was like a really really great experience. So
Yeah. So, yeah, like carrying a taiko is so heavy and
yeah, it's mostly that.
yeah, and like for us in the Yukon, the winter time it's snow, and we have to push and
Yeah,
taiko. Yeah, we yeah. I
yeah,
think it's all taiko community experienced.
yeah. The work is moving the taiko from point A to point B, getting it on stage, all that, and like
Yes.
the playing is just like the fun part. But like
Yes.
the actual like work of it is all the other, like,
Very careful
yeah,
moving.
very
Yeah.
careful. Yeah,
Hmm.
can't get it wet.
Yes. Yeah.
Then yeah.
Yeah. So you played when you were a kid, you started playing taiko.
Hmm.
So like, in our dream, we want to have a kids taiko group in
Oh yeah,
JCAY. Yeah,
great.
that's like it's a dream. Like we need a lot
Yeah.
of money and stuff. But how what kind of approach do you use to teach taiko to the kids? If you worked with kids,
Hmm.
have you like do you work with kids?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some, not a lot, but
Mhm.
some. Yes, for sure. And like actually, my own son is taking taiko now, but I'm not teaching him.
Nice.
I'm sending him to one. I'm sending him to one of my friends because
Yeah,
I don't want to be like, I want to like, yeah, it's like the role of the parent and the teacher
different.
is very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to support him as the parent, you
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
and I also don't want to pressure him too much to like,
Hmm.
do the thing his dad does. Like, if he
Oh
loves it,
yeah.
if he really starts to like it and
Yeah.
really gets into it, then of course I will help him and like, show him, you know, introduce him to
Of
everybody I
course.
can and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, that would really have to come from him.
Him.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think like with kids, I mean, I think the biggest thing that most people do is like underestimate kids,
Mm.
Kids are like they're
Ma-
amazing, and they
Yeah.
can do they're far more capable usually
Yeah.
than we teach them.
Hmm.
So I think kids are really, you can really, yeah, they're really far more capable than we often think. We think like, oh,
Hmm.
we have to like make this easier for kids, but like in my experience, it's like, no, we have to do that for adults.
Yeah.
The kids are like they're like sponges, like
Yes.
they don't know things are hard, so they just
Hmm.
try.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's only like they don't know it. Yeah, they just don't know it's hard yet, and
Mm.
so like, and that's like a very powerful thing. Yeah, so I feel like you can really do a lot with kids, but again, I think it's about that same like it's about that same like trying to get it in their bodies,
Hmm. Hmm.
and not doing things in a way that's not so explainy
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
more just like doing, but making sure they're doing things in a way where they kind of have to do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, they have to hit with the proper kind of technique,
Hmm.
but doing it in a way where they're kind of like, again, figuring that out for themselves.
Let them some.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
okay.
but yeah, my goal, I'm always like, oh yeah, no, when I teach kids, you can like, you can go harder, you can go, because they learn so quickly, and
Okay.
so yeah, so I feel like a lot of times kids respond very well to being challenged, you know
Hmm. Hmm.
and yeah.
Do you have any songs that you usually teach to kids?
Um, well, kind of it would depend
The level.
on the group and the level.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Like, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I really want my
yeah,
my 6 years old daughter to play Taiko. She's been watching I playing. Like sometimes
yeah,
she copies at
yeah.
home, so she's interested.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in Japan the kids have a lot of opportunity to play taiko like
Yeah,
naturally, but not in North America. I mean, not in
yeah,
Yukon. We
yeah,
are very careful. We don't let them play because it's so expensive taiko.
yeah, yeah,
But if we have kids taiko, kids small
yeah,
taiko, that'd be
yeah,
awesome for kids
yeah,
for the community too.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Um, yeah. The the what like so the way that Jeannie and Russell, like my first taiko teachers, taught us,
okay.
one of the things that they did that I'm like forever grateful for
Yeah.
was um, they allowed us to be creative in the
Mm,
with the taiko from the very very beginning.
okay.
Like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they did teach us like the proper etiquette and and part of part of their teaching was very structured, like
Hmm.
do this drill and and stand this way and like make sure you do that. But from the very beginning they incorporated like play and like
Hmm.
improvisation and like
Hmm.
allowing us to express ourselves through the taiko.
Yeah.
And so like one of the very first things I remember, like we got invited to play this uh, we got invited to Zellerbach, which was like this San Francisco Taiko Dojos. They did this annual concert, and so
Hmm.
um, Tanaka Sensei had invited our group to come perform. And what Jeannie and Russell did is they had all of us kids like write a piece together, and we
Mm.
performed it at Zellerbach. And like that was like a really yeah, that was a very
Good
um,
experience.
yeah, pivotal moment for I think all of
Mm.
us because we were like, oh, like we just felt like we could be creative and compose and like and use taiko to express who we are like from the
Mm.
very very beginning. And that yeah, I felt like that was a really great way of teaching and a really great gift that they gave us. So I would encourage that as well, like
Okay.
when I because I think one of the things that I think we were talking about like the values that get passed down through the
Yes.
art form. Like I think there's a lot of values that um, respect and trying
Mm-hmm.
to show respect for each other and the art
Mm-hmm.
form and the teacher and the instruments and the space and all those kinds of things. But I think yeah, but I think like so some that like structure is really good, but also that other side is also very important, like
Mm-hmm.
really
Mm-hmm.
letting the kids feel like they can own the art form, own the
Yeah.
taiko, and like do it for themselves because that's
Mm-hmm.
really really powerful when you're when kids are able to do that. Like there's a really
Mm-hmm.
great group, like when I'm talking like this, the kids group that I start thinking of is this is Zenshin Daiko based in Maui,
Okay.
um, and and they're run by this really great couple, Tony and Val, and they Uncle Tony, he's like I think a lot of when you watch his kids play, it's amazing. They're That's so awesome. They put so much good energy into the
Mm-hmm.
performances, and the kids they just own it, and they like they play with heart, and they write all their own songs, and like they run their own practices, and like it's a whole
Oh.
it's amazing. Um and what how and I think a lot of people ask him like, how do you do that? Like, how do you like? And I myself, like, I'm not entirely sure how he does it. I've been around them, and he's invited me to come like teach his kids several times, and I'm always like watching and trying to understand like how this happens. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it really comes down to that. It's like he steps back and he allows
Okay.
the children to like take the lead a lot of times. And then, if it gets too crazy, then, he's there to
Support. Yeah.
provide the support and the structure.
Yeah.
But it's really like he really does a great job in like the kids feel very empowered in that group, and they take a lot of responsibility, and then it's built up over these years. So the older
Cool.
kids, they like bring the younger kids up, and they like, they teach,
That's
if
so
they're
cool.
goofing off too much, they say like, oh, hey, we gotta like
Yeah.
start, we gotta really focus. And he doesn't have to say that. They're doing it
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
themselves, and
Themselves.
it's just like magic. It's like, how do you, but
Ah.
it's not magic. It's really like, it's a really thoughtful approach, but it's a really all in kind of approach. And so that's a group that I really think about uh, when when I think about like empowering the kids.
Cool.
Like it's,
What's the name again? Group again?
Zenshin Daiko.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have
I'll
to
send you
Google it.
some links.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
you'll be like, what? Because they're yeah, they're really great taiko players too.
Ah,
Yeah, they just have a really great feel when they play.
good. Yeah. Like we hopefully in and before my daughter go grows up.
Yeah, yeah,
I would like to. I would love to let her play. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's really good value that yeah you
yeah,
said. Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, so that question from my group had
Mm-hmm.
I already asked, and the last question is do you have what's fascinate you the most taiko? Like do you
What
fascinates what's
fascinates me
yeah.
the most about taiko?
Yes. This is
Yeah.
my like last. I guess you talked about why you love the taiko, your values.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, is there any last thing you want to say?
Yeah. Okay. This is a good question. This is kind of a long answer, but
Yes, please.
the so I think what fascinates me the most about taiko is that like it's like culture is something
Mm.
that's never static, you know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
For a culture to stay alive, it has to like
yeah.
morph and change and adapt,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that I really have seen in the Japanese American community,
Mm-hmm.
because um like like my family and my community, we have like a very specific experience of like, we all share a lot of the same stories about how the families came from Japan
Mm-hmm.
to North America. We all have like very similar um, histories,
Yeah.
and in a way that like really binds a community and makes it a very strong, like
Mm-hmm.
community. But the and so like when I'm around other like there's like this kind of like there's this like there is like a sense of belonging and like
Mm-hmm.
a shared culture that you can find within the Japanese American community.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because one is like this group of families that went through this experience, like nobody
Mm-hmm.
else has that same experience, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then back in the day, we all had to live in the same neighborhoods, right? Because
Yeah.
nobody would let us live in any other neighborhood. So we all had to like live in the same neighborhood. So everybody knew each other, was all very tight. But now that's not the case. We live like
Yeah.
all over, the country. Um, there's also like there's not there isn't the same number of like Japanese immigration into
Mm-hmm.
America, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, now there's like lots of Chinese immigration, there's
Yeah.
lots of Korean, Southeast Asian,
Mm-hmm.
but the number of like Japanese like immigrating and coming to stay in North America, it's a very small group,
Yeah.
right? It's not like thousands of people like it used to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then also our community, like Japanese Americans, we have the highest rate of out marriage
Mm-hmm.
of any
Mm-hmm.
of any ethnic group in
Yeah.
North America. So, and that makes sense because like, we don't like, we're all like
Don't have enough.
by ourselves. Yeah. Like, yeah. And so the, the community, the Japanese American community is really changing. And so, and that Taiko is something that like, something that was really kind of born from that Japanese American, community. But we have to like, we can't be too precious about it, We can't protect it so much. We have to like, we have to share it with more people.
Yes.
Because those are the people that are going to come to the, art form, that's what like helps the art form grow, right? And
yeah.
so, and now like the Taiko community is a much more diverse place, right? There's people that come from like all kinds of different backgrounds that that come into the art form. So I think that the task in front of us is like, how can we stay true to who we are? How can we embed the values in this art form, but be able to give it away, be able to let other people in, and let other people take it and do something with it. Like, and I think that is like, that's the thing that really fascinates me about the Taiko, because I can see that like being a very powerful thing in the world, like being able to like influence people's values and influence like how people think of community is a very powerful thing, and we need more of those kind of communities and those identities that are more open and like, but are value based, right? They're not just like open, like, oh, anybody can join, but it's like open with a purpose, Yeah, and so I think that's what really fascinates me about Taiko.
Like you care about your community and your culture and your values, and you work with Taiko. That's such a cool job. Like, and you not only the job, but like as a like, and you support the community, Thai community. That's thank you for sharing your thoughts. That's I'm just hearing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do. I hear that. I'm not sure what that is though.
But that's okay. Well, we are finishing. But
okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that you're sharing your experience and your passion. And like I'm excited to show our performance video to the Yukon community.
Yeah.
And not only Yukon, I guess it's a YouTube, so we can share with around the world. So this is it. Thank you so much, Shoji-san. And I hope we can keep in touch. And then,
yes, definitely. Let's stay in touch.
Who knows if we can play the Ready Set kaDON together in the future, right?
I'm looking forward to that. We'll make that happen. Yeah.
Yes, we are far north, but who knows? We can, and then we know the song, so and we're gonna keep practice.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shoji-san.
Thank you.
And I will talk to you soon. Keep in touch.
Yeah,
thank you for doing everything for the Taiko community.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this, and best of luck with your group. And I look forward to the time when we can meet in person and like play together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a good night. We have a good day.
Okay. Right. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
So I okay. Recording.